Welcome my boys and girls, I hope you're all doing good, having a great day. Today is gonna be a requested video. I have been seeing this question asked every now and then, so this is gonna be a guide to showcase how you can increase your critical hit chance and critical hit damage inside of Diablo Immortal with any character you are playing right now. You can see I have 0% critical hit damage as of right now, and I have 3% critical hit chance. This 3% critical hit chance is a base critical hit chance that everyone get without doing anything inside of Diablo Immortal. So you don't need to worry about trying to understand where it is coming from. This is a base critical hit chance that everyone get, and you can add more critical hit chance on the top of this 3%. And now, before we go any further, let's talk about the critical hit chance cap inside of Diablo Immortal, and that is gonna be 100%. You can get up to 100% critical hit chance inside of Diablo Immortal. That is gonna be the cap. As for the critical hit damage cap, it is gonna be 120% in PVE and 100% in PvP. So again, the critical hit damage cap for PvE is going to be 120%. You cannot get more than 120% buff for the critical damage in PvE, and for PvP it is going to be 100%. Now that is out of the way, we're going to try and start adding critical hit chance and critical hit damage to our character and go through all the sources that allow us to increase critical hit chance and critical hit damage. Starting with the first one, that is going to be the most complicated, that will be the familiar system. I'm going to try and keep this simple so everyone can understand. Click on the traits button on the bottom left. Then we have our first inactive passive talent here that can give us up to 1% critical hit chance if we can get a familiar or a pet that will have this active talent. And then there is another one here that gives us some critical hit damage. So what we have to now do is try and find a familiar that has a talent that gives us critical hit chance and critical hit damage. And I'll show you guys my critical hit chance right now. It is 3% and 0% critical hit damage. And if we go back to the familiar tab, click on this legendary familiar here, and you guys can see I have one active talent here, or a passive, that can give me the critical hit damage. So I'm gonna select this companion as my main, and it should now give me that critical hit damage. You can see now I am getting that 1.5% critical hit damage, and two of my talents are working. The first one was maximum life increase, but the second one was the 1.5% critical hit damage. And if we go try and find the critical hit chance here, let me quickly do that. I have one familiar here that gives me critical hit chance. There we go. What we're gonna do is forge a bond, and now we should get some critical hit chance here. It should be 4%, and there we go. That is gonna be our first way of getting critical hit damage and critical hit chance in Diablo Immortal. Moving forward, we can get some more critical hit damage and critical hit chance from our primary gear, starting with the helm. You can see it has critical hit chance and critical hit damage. We will equip this. Then you can see we get some critical hit chance from our shoulder, and you can even get a critical hit damage on the shoulder as well. I did not end up rolling that, but you can get both on the shoulder as well. So this is going to give us some more critical hit chance. You guys can see that my critical hit chance and critical hit damage is going up. Then we can get some more critical hit damage and critical hit chance from the weapon. Again, I did not end up rolling that critical hit damage on my weapon here, but it does come, and we end up getting some more critical hit chance, and again this has my second weapon has more critical hit chance, and it is keep on going up. Now we are at 17% critical hit chance. As for our offhand here, you can see I have more critical hit chance here. And my second weapon, it does not have critical hit chance, but it has the critical hit damage. So you can get quite a lot of critical hit chance and critical hit damage from the shoulder, helm, weapons, and now I am somewhat sitting at about 20% critical hit chance and 27% critical hit damage. The chest does not come with any critical hit chance or critical hit damage, so you should be aiming for beneficial duration on the chest. And again, the legs does not come with the critical hit chance or critical hit damage, so you can try and get beneficial duration on that. That is going to extend the duration of some of the gems that you are using. That is considered as a buff, or some skills which is considered as beneficial. And now we are somewhat sitting at again 20% critical hit chance and 33% critical hit damage. If you guys noticed, my critical hit damage went up by adding a chest and the legs. That is because we might be using the reforges here that has a critical hit damage on them. If you don't know what the reforges are, you can get up to 5 reforges on your gear pieces, and I try and get that critical hit damage on every single piece. All you have to do is go to the blacksmith here. We go to blacksmith services, reforge, select an item that you want to reforge. By the way, you can get these 5 bonus attributes as you upgrade the ranking of the primary gear. At rank 26, you'll have 5 of these reforge bonuses. Early levels, you won't have 5 of these options available. But anyhow, we go and select an item here, go to reforge. You have now basic reforge stone that is going to give you a random, or you can try and use these stones here that will give you specific talents. So we can try and aim for the critical hit damage from the wildfire. You can see critical hit damage. If you are wanting to aim for critical hit damage, it will give you one of the 5 talents available here. But these are premium stones, and you have to purchase using platinum or real money, and you can get up to 3% critical hit damage on every single piece of your equipment here. And that is gonna end up if you get 3% on every single piece, that is gonna end up 24% critical hit damage. That is gonna be quite a lot. Now moving forward, the next way we can get more critical hit chance and critical hit damage is going to be the runes. You guys can see we are sitting at 20% critical hit chance and 33% critical hit damage. Now we will go to the weapon, select the socket rune here, and you can see I have a LEV legendary rune here that can give me up to 6% critical hit damage on my main weapon, and I can add 2 of these. That is gonna alone give me about 12% critical hit damage. And now you can see I am sitting at 45% critical hit damage. And as for the offhand, we can get more critical hit chance. You can see I have ZUH here that gives me 4% critical hit chance per legendary rune here, and I can get up to 8% critical hit chance from these runes. And now I am sitting at 28% critical hit chance and 45% critical hit damage. Now there is another really large source of getting critical hit damage, and that is gonna be from our secondary stats. Right now I am not equipped with my secondary gear, so you can see it is only giving me Basically, it is giving me 0% critical hit damage bonus. But as we start using these items here, you will see that my critical hit damage bonus from the armor penetration will go up. There we go. And now we are sitting at somewhat 50% critical hit damage bonus. That is from the armor penetration, and it does stack with our 45% critical hit damage that we were able to get from familiar gear, reforges, and runes. And so now we are sitting at 95% flat critical hit damage bonus, and the cap is a 120% for critical hit chance that we're gonna get thanks to having these legendary gems. The first one is gonna be the rolling consequence. We equip it. Now this gem can give me up to 36% critical hit chance when it will get activated, and it will stack with the amount of critical hit chance we have right now. The next gem, it is gonna be the blood flow. Whenever it will activate, it will give me up to 32% critical hit damage. That is more than I need to hit the 120% cap right now. So let's equip it. Now we can see we can get another 32% critical hit damage, and on the top of that, once we will put a bleeding onto the enemy, we get additional critical hit chance. And after equipping everything, we are at 28% critical hit chance and 45% critical hit damage. And as we go and hit this training dummy, activate our legendary gems, you guys will see now we are somewhat sitting at 67% critical hit chance and 77% base critical hit damage, plus the critical hit damage bonus we were getting from the armor penetration. That was 50%, easily hitting the 120% cap. Hopefully this video is going to be helpful to new players or even some players who've been trying to min-max. Now I'm signing off. Leave this video a like. That is going to be a huge help, and I see you all in the next one. You guys have an excellent day. Later.